All right, and we are back. Damn snowstorm knocked my power out.
Does this normally go out live?
It normally does. I normally do it live and then download it and then put it up to my podcast.
Yeah, so you got a whole bunch of people on the feed just going, "What happened?"
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh well. So
it happens.
I'll just have to merge the two together. So,
Yeah.
which is fine. All right. So anyway, back to what I was saying before. Your
Yes.
activism, whether it be that guy that about the Jews in Hollywood, or whether it be somebody who I think you were talking about Condoleezza Rice. I can't remember the exact clip. And her doing something with sports, and a female.
Jessica Mendoza.
Jessica Mendoza, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And you've just advocated. It's one of the things that I just love to do myself. Is that
Well, I heard some of that, and some of it I think got snowed out, but hopefully it went through. I appreciate the kind words, and I think that this summer showed me a lot about activism in the comedy community. Because when BLM got the amplification that it needed this summer, there were a lot of people who were doing the whole "oh, stick to comedy," etc. And I got a call from a friend of mine who he had gotten a lot of his fan base from being on a very popular network television show. And he messaged me and he goes, "Hey, a lot of my fans are conservative, and whenever I write anything political at all, they get upset. But I want to be more active, more of an activist. What do you recommend I do?" And I sent him my numbers for that month. And I showed him that the more I was being an activist, the more followers I was getting. That my social media was growing by about 4,000 followers a day. And I sent that to him and I said, being a good person happens to be good for business also. You're going to lose followers in the beginning, and they're going to shake themselves out. And I told him one of my favorite comedy stories, which is George Carlin, after he was very, very famous. He was playing in Vegas, and he starts out the show with 10 minutes of anti-government conspiracy. Your government's trying to fuck you. I can't believe you can't see it. Wake up. Not much comedy at all. And people are leaving, screaming at him. You used to be funny. What happened to you? Etc. It's, 10 minutes in, he sees that the people who are going to leave have left. It's kind of settled down. And he leans in and he goes, "Now that those assholes aren't here anymore, let's start the show." Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
that
Something
is
that I wish I had the balls and the status to do. But the idea of I'm fine with those assholes leaving. I'm fine with those assholes never buying a ticket. I much more enjoy performing to decent human beings.
that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. It really does. As it should. You know, it. Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways around it. I mean, you summed it up right there. I mean, that's an epic way to put it. Because being a decent human being is, one of those things that again is lost on society these days. In my opinion. I mean, there's a bunch of good ones and there's a bunch of ones that don't realize it. And that's what's tearing this country apart right now, is my opinion. You know, for politically speaking, Monday we had the electoral college vote, but yet there's still Republicans out there who are refusing to acknowledge Biden, and they're sitting there saying we will win, this is rigged. Da, da, da. I'm like, I was hoping that Monday would be it, and then we could hopefully start to unify again, but it
It's not
didn't
going to be
happen.
it's not going to be it for years. And
Yeah,
what what it comes down to is I can disagree with someone's politics and still have them as a close person in my life. I have a
me
number
too.
of people like that. We can talk about Keynesian economics versus classical. That's fine. Which do you think is more important? We can argue the benefits of social programs. And do social programs help in the short term and hurt in the long run? Or do they help in the long run and hurt in the short term? Depends on your viewpoint of it. And that's perfectly fine to debate. What I will not debate is truth. What I will not debate is decency. And the same people who want us to hold on to the Electoral College that the left does not want, the right is forcing us to hold on to that.
Yep.
And then they don't want to abide by it. Fine, you want to take away the Electoral College? You think it's fixed? Take it away. Let's just go by popular vote.
Yeah.
You think there's a chance? You think Trump has a chance in hell with popular vote? Democrats have won 7 of the last 8 popular votes, and the one that the Republicans won, they won by one of the smallest margins ever.
Yeah.
This is a democratic country now. And the people who, look, you want to argue about the ethics of gerrymandering. I don't believe in it, but fine, there's a side to it. I think it's cheating. I think it's stupid, but fine. You want to argue about where county lines should be. You want to argue about states' rights versus federal. Those are all arguments we can have. But I will not argue with someone about whether or not they treat someone with decency.
Yeah.
And that is the difference that's happening right now.
And I fully agree with you on that. And that was going to bring me to my next point. You know, with everything that's gone on this year with COVID, you know, the unemployment rate's at its highest it's been in a long time. Suicide rates are at the highest they've been at in a long time.
Yes.
You know, and those two are in correlation. Absolutely.
Yes.
And, you know, and at the government level, the federal government level, which is 45 minutes that way from me, you know, are still, you know, fighting over this and fighting over that when people like me who walk around with mental illness on a daily fucking basis are dying. When people out there are losing their homes, losing, you know, their source of everything, and they're not doing anything about it, it is driving me insane.
But Derek, I don't understand. You said people. I thought it was just numbers.
Apparently we are just numbers.
I thought it was just statistics. I thought it was just, oh, this just has a 2% fatality rate. Why should we care? Well, because that's millions of people.
Yep.
And they're actual people. And anyone who doesn't have someone in their life that's been touched by COVID right now is either a liar or a hermit. The COVID has now 11% of North Dakota has tested positive for COVID, and North Dakota has one of the lowest testing rates of any state.
Yeah.
So probably 20% has had it. The idea that in New Jersey, 1 in every 500 people who lived in New Jersey isn't living anymore. Due to COVID, not due to all the other things combined. 1 in every 500 people in the state of New Jersey has died of COVID. That is mind-boggling. And there are still people who say, oh, it doesn't really matter. The argument of, oh, we've got to save our economy by opening the businesses. No, we've got to save our economy by closing the fucking businesses and giving us money to stay home like every other civilized country in the world has been able to do.
Yeah.
And I understand that this is a very difficult time for mental health. It's incredibly difficult for folks like me who are fine. Overall, I do not have mental health issues. I do not suffer from depression. I do not suffer from anxiety. I am very lucky and privileged in that way. I am not worried about being able to pay my mortgage. I get fulfillment on a daily basis from the dopamine of social media. And I'm still losing my damn mind.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how difficult this is for other people. You know what'll make it more difficult? Starving them to death. That makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
Stressing them out by whether or not they're going to be able to afford rent because they haven't been able to make a payment in a while and they don't know if it's going to be forgiven. By forcing them to pay back student loans in the midst of all of this. And to view them as statistics.
Yeah. That, you hit it right on the head. I mean, and that's what sucks, you know, and that's why I come on this show every day. And sometimes I'm having a completely down day. But you know what? I know that of my, 40 to 50,000 people that download this show every day, one of them is feeling like I am. I know there's more than that, but at least one of them is feeling like I am. And if they know that I come on this show knowing how I am and knowing what I've done in my past, and I'm still able to come on here and make jokes or, talk about music or talk about comedy or anything else, and I can still go to sleep and wake up and do it again the next day, hopefully I can, pass that on to them so they can do the same.
I've never had the thought before, but I wonder, like, how, like, you'll get those messages sometimes. You'll get those messages from people being like, "Hey, I was going through a really hard time, but you were able to distract me during it, and you saved me." And you get those messages sometimes, and they're wonderful. I wonder if those messages, if like anyone ever messages Matt Gaetz with that. Like, I wonder if Matt Gaetz ever gets an email and it's just like, I was going through a really hard time, but your hatred of people different than you really spoke to me. And the way that you called COVID fake while having COVID, ugh, that just made me feel like someone got me, Like, I wonder if they get that as well.
That's brilliant.
Thank you. I gotta do a bit about that. That's a fun bit. I'm writing that shit down. That's a fun bit.
That is a fun bit. Holy shit. That is good. Or Don Jr. just got it, and he was, still spouting shit drunkenly on fucking internet and shit like that the other week or last week. The other day.
Just be like, your rant from that Motel 6 room. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Before I saw you in a Motel 6, I was thinking, am I the only person in a Motel 6? And then I saw the son of a war criminal / president. And I realized that, maybe one day I could do nothing and have a lot of money because of who I was born to. Maybe I could do that in a Motel 6. Who the fuck are they inspiring?
What the fuck was he even doing in a Motel 6 to begin with?
Cocaine. He was doing cocaine in a Motel 6. That's where cocaine is from. Where cocaine lives.
Oh, there's a Motel 6 right on the road.
Yeah.
I need to take note of that.
That's not snow outside, Derek. That's a great deal of cocaine.
Damn, I'm supposed to be living in a semi-rich area, and this is
that's 8 inches of cocaine. That's what's happening right now.
I need to go outside and just.
Why do you think they're shoveling so fast?
Yeah, people were outside actually shoveling right in the middle of it. I'm like, guys, it's gonna get worse. And they're like, we don't care.
He's like,
that explains it now.
Suddenly, your walk just has 2 narrow paths on it.
Yeah, that's fucking great. So, we were talking about it a little bit before we went on the air. So let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit more before you got to go here.
Yeah,
that announcement today about you moving to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
why don't you go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
So I'm moving to Pittsburgh. End of story. No. So I am a Jewish comedian that bought a church. It technically has not been a church in a very long time, but it is a former church. And I bought it to make a comedy Hogwarts. Basically, it's going to be a live, work, play environment for comedians. It's called Steel City Arts Foundation, better known as Steel City AF. And we are going to have 2 event spaces, performance spaces. We're going to have a podcast studio. We're going to have a digital broadcast studio. Comedians are going to be able to live there. There's going to be a home gym. There's going to be a workshop. There's going to be editing bays. Just everything a comedian needs to concentrate on their art instead of slaving away. We actually Greg Proops reached out today and asked if he could be on the board of directors, which is amazing. I'm very excited about that because he's a legend. Yeah. And we're building something cool, and that's the goal.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be cool. I might have to come drive up and knock on your door.
Absolutely. Comedians are after COVID. Comedians are going to be welcome. And people are like, why now? I'm like, because it's going to take me 6 damn months to build it. That's why. Like, it's going to take a while, and by the time we're done and we're ready, I think it'll be safe to go outside again.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, I've had on the last 2 months, I've done nothing but indie bands, because the bigger artists aren't really doing much right now. So I thought it was a great time to profile all the indie artists that are putting out new music, and talking to them, and they're like, it sucks that we can't go out and tour and support this new single or this new album, but hope thing for next year. Are you seeing any hope for next year?
Yeah, and Look, the vaccine has already started to be administered, and that's just the Pfizer one. Moderna just got approved as well. Um, by a little bit after New Year's, because it takes 3 weeks between doses for Pfizer and 4 weeks between doses for Moderna. So by early to mid January, all the doctors will have been given their full dose. The most vulnerable among us will have been given their full dose, and we'll see if the numbers go down. And if the numbers happen to go down, or not happen to go down, but if the numbers follow what we predict, then we will know. I right now have a touring schedule that starts in March. I don't know how much of that I'll be able to keep. We'll see. But at the same time, I have the biggest venues that I've ever played booked for August.
That's awesome.
And I know a lot of these bands and a lot of comedians are like, well, we can't tour right now. What do we do? It's like, well, you sell twice as many tickets next year. Because all the people who are excited to see you and can't, especially if you've been putting out digital content, that means a lot to people right now. You've been what's distracted people from this. You've been what has kept people sane. And so they're going to come out and support you. And the reason why the Roaring '20s were the Roaring '20s was because it directly followed a pandemic. And it was people excited to be able to go out again. It was access to cheap capital. It was access to new technologies that were inspired because of the change in society. And that'll happen again.
Yeah, I firmly believe in that as well. Because, with the ones that, like they said, the ones that are still putting out music, the indie guys, they've kind of leveled the playing field this year with the larger artists because they're not getting plays because they're not putting anything out. And yeah. I this past Friday did a charity event for Toys for Tots, a virtual concert. I had a bunch of comedians on. I had a bunch of musicians on, and it went for like 7 hours straight. And luckily there was no snow, so there was no power outages. But and it was phenomenal. We raised about $2,000, which was shy of my goal, but it was $2,000 more than Toys for Tots had on Thursday. And
yeah,
these
anything
13
you raise is good.
Yeah, and these 13 bands that haven't gotten to play in front of a live crowd this year, that had just put out new albums, got to at least put on a virtual concert, and it went really, really well. And I'm really, really proud of everybody. And it turned into something really, really great, and I was really proud of it. And more importantly, I was proud of the bands for just giving it their all, even though there was nobody in front of them. And I think that right there says a lot about the way times are changing, because who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years to where something like this might happen again, or we can't afford to go over here, so we're going to go ahead and put on a special show just for China, and here we go, this is what we're going to go ahead and do.
Yeah.
So those types of things have now been, the doors have been open for these types of things too. So I think that's a great thing as well, especially with what you're doing with Nowhere Comedy Club.
Thank you. The thing that, so I've been producing VR shows for 4 or 5 years, and it was always the reason I did VR shows instead of something like this where you just sit in front of a camera, is because comedians used to see shows like this as just cheap television. And, why would they give away their set when they could just perform and it would hurt their touring and etc. But VR they would do because it was different. Oh, well, I'm just doing it as an avatar and it's weird and it doesn't live forever and etc. etc. Now, during the pandemic, we've found a way to replicate that experience, but have it as an actual live camera and from anywhere. And I drove across country to visit family. I wanted to be able to see my East Coast family before it got too cold to see them outside. And so I drove across country, and on the drive in hotels, I just packed a green screen with me. And it looked like this. It looked like my studio. And to be able to do that from anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world is incredible. I perform weekly with a comic from Australia that normally we get to perform together once a year. And instead we have a weekly show. I did the math when we started Nowhere, and when I was examining the idea of like what happens to do a virtual show, and we added up all the tickets I had sold over the last couple of years and figured out that more than 80% of my fan base on social media had never seen me live.
Wow.
So those are who the tickets are for. And since we've been doing it, someone watched from a hospital bed. There was someone who had severe agoraphobia. She hadn't been out of the house in 16 years. People with kids can't see shows a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go spend $20 on a ticket, okay, but you're spending 50 or 75 on the babysitter. You're spending another 10 or 20 on parking. You're spending money on food. You're spending money on drinks. You're looking at a night between two people that's going to cost $200. Mm-hmm. Whereas you watch a digital show where tickets are 10 to 20 bucks, for two people, you're looking at 20 to 30. And that's the whole cost of the night. We have people who have watched well over 50 shows because you can watch once a week for that price.
Yeah. And I think that's, a fantastic thing that you're doing. I mean, you're giving the comedians an outlet, you're giving fans an outlet, and there's very few new things coming out on TV. There's very few new, obviously, movies coming out. And we need entertainment. I think for a long time we've taken entertainment for granted. And I think, digital creators, whether it be, you putting on Nowhere Comedy or me putting on a virtual charity concert, are in demand more than ever before. And I think, the people that want to do it should just do it because the audience is there at your will to grab it and, and do it,
Well, the biggest thing to us has been the community. I did a show last week, and with each of my shows, we get about 50 new people, and the other people are the regulars. And it was fun to see that we're at this point in the pandemic now, where the regulars all know each other. Mm-hmm. And so in the chat that's going on the side, everybody's saying hi to each other, and you start seeing other people pop up, be like, "How do you guys all know each other?" It's like, well, because we all go to these shows, and some of them have started dating. A lot of them have become good friends, and it builds a community. And if you want to watch Netflix at home, I guess you could write in a message board or on a subreddit or something, but it's not the same as being able to talk to someone, see their face, etc. And one of the cool things was so we have these regulars on. We do a live stream 4 days a week, Social Distancing Social Club, and we had the Sklars as the guest a couple days ago. And the Sklar brothers do this podcast, Dumb People Town, that's wildly successful.
Yeah.
And they've been doing these live shows to it where they're selling out 700 tickets. And, John Hamm was a guest, and Birbiglia and Gaffigan. I mean, it's just been insane. And the Sklars take a moment during our live stream, and they say hi to someone who has been to a couple of their shows that they recognized from the audience. And I think that's just the coolest thing.
That is pretty awesome. Because you don't get to do that, normally. I mean, you can, but no.
Yeah, but I know, I have a couple fans that I know by name, from before the pandemic. That there's this woman named Carrie, and her husband are adorable, and they come to every show I do within 2 hours of Louisville, and they're great. But I got to know who they were, I guess, the fourth year they were coming to see me. And there's, Tim and Orlando, and, he and his wife are just total sweethearts. And I think it was the third year that I was like, oh, yeah, hey, Tim, right?
Yeah.
But it's just been a couple months for the Sklar brothers, and they already know someone from the front row because awesome. they recognize them from the community.
That is great. And that's one thing, again, that is just really, really nice about this whole thing. When I see someone pop up on my stream or, hit me up on, slide in my DMs and just say thank you, it's nice to know that that's somebody that's been there for a while. I have many people that do that all the time, and it's a fantastic thing.
And I will say, by the way, I do draw a distinction. I get people asking me for favors in their first message. And look, if the people I just talked about, if Carrie or Tim was ever like, hey, I'm in a bad situation, can you help? I would be like, absolutely. You've been there for me for years. Of course I'd help. And then other people are like, hey, I started watching your videos last week. Can you donate to my kids' GoFundMe? I'm like, no. I don't know you. There is a difference on being a part of a community, an active part of the community.
Yeah.
And, and I think it's obvious. I think it's really easy to tell when someone wants something versus when someone wants to be a part of something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you're closing in on 20 years on your comedy career.
Hmm.
You know, you still have many, many more years left. When you say your final farewell and your final mic drop, what is the one thing you want to be known for as far as your legacy goes?
There's a quote from Jackie Robinson that I live by, which is uh, a life is, and I'm paraphrasing now, I'm messing up the quote, but a life is known for the impact it has on other lives, and that's what I want to be known for. Um, I don't want to be a king. I want to be a kingmaker. You know, it's part of what I'm doing with Steel City AF. Like, the point of it is that I want to be able to use what I've gotten from this industry and give other people a boost. And that's what I want to do. I don't want people in my eulogy to go, "Oh, he was so funny," you know, or he was good at marketing or whatever it is. I want people in my eulogy to go, "I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for him." That's what I want to do.
Well, I can definitely say from my perspective, you have been a huge influence to me. And sitting here talking to you this last 48 minutes, minus the power outage, has been just unreal. I mean, when I first emailed you about 2 months ago, and then again, a month later, the idea of having you on the show was, far fetched for me. I'm still new, but I'm getting the viewers, I'm getting the downloads. I'm trying to build my name still,
Yeah.
but it was still, one of those things that didn't think was gonna be possible. And then last week I got reached out to, and I was like, holy shit, it's amazing. And for it to come together as quick as it did, I want to say thank you for that, number one. But then thank you, number two, is just for being who you are, man. You've never taken it to a different level just for popularity reasons. You've never taken it to a different level for money. You've never done anything that's outside of your wheelhouse because you will refuse to do that kind of stuff. And I love how genuine you are and how passionate you are, whether it's about comedy, whether it's about activism, or whether it's just about life in general. And I think that's what makes you great. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Derek, I appreciate that, and that means a lot to me. And you better not say the same thing to Donald Trump Jr. But the the reason, and I draw a big distinction. A lot of people have a problem with people selling out, and so do I. Selling out is doing something you don't believe in for money. Selling is doing something you do believe in for money, and that's the difference.
Correct.
I'll sell all day, but I will never sell out. And early in my career, when I really needed the money, actually thinking about this, I should put this story in the book. I forgot about this story. But early in my career, I got offered a local TV commercial. And I went in for the read. And, and I'd gotten the script, and the script was fine. And I was supposed to play this little snarky guy in the line at a video store. This is how long ago it was. And it was fine. And then I got there, and they showed me like these storyboards, and I was supposed to be in this big foam #1 suit. And I was like, what is that? Is that the name of the company? Am I like a mascot? They're like, no, we just think it'd be funny. Like, what? No, that's weird. It's cheesy. It's not funny. And they're like, yeah, you just be in this #1 suit. And I couldn't make sense of it. And it was $1,000. And I told them it wasn't for me, and I wasn't a fit. Because I realized that as much as I needed that $1,000, it wasn't worth the rest of my career. And every time you decide to do something that is selling out, you are gambling the rest of your career.
Wow, I've never even thought about it like that before.
Well, and look, that might be something I could have recovered from.
Yeah.
But, I got offered for my podcast last year, which, by the way, was struggling. My podcast wasn't really finding its audience, and we got offered a sponsorship from a vape company for $4,000. That would have been enough money to buy us another couple months and trying to find a sponsor and etc. And I couldn't do it because that's not me. I can't tell people to vape. And so I had to turn it down, and then the podcast failed, and
Yeah.
so be it. But I'd rather the podcast fail than me fail.
Yeah. And that's how I feel as well. Like I'm struggling to find an audience on YouTube. I'm lucky to get 20 to 50 viewers a night on YouTube, but I get 50,000 on the downloads, through
Yeah.
Spotify and Apple and stuff like that, which I'm completely happy with. But I continue to do it on YouTube just because, I want to be able to say I do both. But at the same time, one of the things I've always said, and I've told this to many different PR people, is, and I will always abide by this. I don't care how big of a star they are. If I email you and I say, hey, can this person come on as a guest? And you say, absolutely. Here's the no list. If the no list is too big, I'm going to refuse the interview. I like it to be raw, open, and honest, and wherever it goes is where it's going to go.
Yeah.
If I ever had the opportunity to talk to Brad Pitt, most likely the no list is anything that has to do with the divorce with Angelina Jolie. Well, guess what? I'm going through a divorce right now, so you know what? I'm going to want to talk to Brad about that. That's just what I would do it. And so that's my version of selling out. If I ever got offered by NBC or TBS because Conan's retiring, the opportunity to go do this, but I have to follow the no list, I would reject it too.
Well, I actually do respect the no list because people are sensitive about different things, and also if they don't need to be on your show, then they can make whatever demands they want. Now, it's certainly up to you to say, I'm not interested in that. But for me, as long as the no list isn't the one thing you need to talk to them about,
Correct.
then to me that's fine. Like, look, if I had a chance to interview Brad Pitt and he said, I just don't want to talk about the divorce with Angelina, I would have been like, okay, I got a billion questions for you just about Burn After Reading. I won't even have time to get into your other stuff. I just want to know about that movie. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
So I'd be fine with that. But, if I were interviewing Betsy DeVos and she said, you just can't ask me anything about my tenure as director of education, I'd have been like, well, fuck you then.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I mean, I would say that anyway.
Yeah.
But 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 I think the no list has to be within reason.
Correct. And that's what I was saying. Yeah. If it's nothing but, hey, we're just here to promote the movie, don't talk about anything else other than the movie or just the book, then it's like, no, can we do something else? You're going to do 10,000 of these. I don't want to be one of your 10,000.
Do you know the Rampart story with Woody Harrelson?
I do not.
So I don't even think this was Woody that did it. It was just a PR person that didn't understand Reddit. And they had him do an AMA. And all they wanted to do was talk about Rampart. And nobody cared. Nobody had heard of the movie. And so the AMA just turned on him. And it was the worst PR that movie ever could have gotten. And people hated it. Because all they wanted to do was just promote this movie. And it's like, you realize if they just would have let him be human, people would have been like, oh, I like him. Let's go see this movie.
Yeah. And that's my view on it. I want to show the human side of things. I want to have those open-ended conversations to where we don't have to sit there and be restricted to. I was watching a podcast today, a live podcast, just flipping through my Twitter feed. It was live on Twitter as well. And they were there was two co-hosts, and they were having a discussion. One of them was having a discussion with the guest about politics, and the other one kept cutting him off. Oh, no, we're not allowed to talk about politics. We're not talking about that. Gets us in trouble. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. It's like, why? The guest obviously wants to talk about it. Now you're telling the guest what he can and can't talk about. It's like, then that means that they had a no list, and that's not even cool. So it's like, I respect the no list absolutely, but again, if it goes against my ideals behind the show, because again, it is a mental health show. Granted, I do talk about everything else under the sun. If I want to have a conversation about alcohol abuse or drug addiction or whatever the case might be, as well as sit here and tell jokes and be funny and everything else in between, I want to be able to do all of that. Now, if you have some stuff that's I need to respect, I absolutely will. There was a comedian that came on not too long ago, and I won't mention his name, but one of the things was you can talk about his alcohol abuse, but you can't talk about him going to AA and his experience with AA. Okay, that makes sense. No problem. I respect that. So those types of things I'm okay with. It's just that I just want to be able to again have that free flow conversation and not be restricted by anything. So I'm glad I got to be able to do that with you tonight.
Well, that said, if you could edit out everything we've said, I would really appreciate that.
I'm gonna have to go back in and do a whole bunch of editing anyway, because now I got to piece together two different separate streams and
Yeah,
put
you
it
got
into.
Frankenstein this episode, man. We'll see if it fits.
I was all excited about the snow, and now the snow done screwed me over.
Well, can't wait to move to Pittsburgh from Southern California, huh?
Oh,
It's gonna be.
They got it worse. They got it worse than I did in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, what am I getting myself into?
You're getting yourself into some fun, let me tell you. But you know
Yeah.
what? I mean, you got you got the Poconos right nearby. You can go visit that, and you can at least attempt to snowboard, and I'll give you some ammunition for about a
Oh,
year.
there's no way I'm gonna no.
Come on, that'll give you ammunition for like a year on comedy, just do nothing but self-deprecate.
Hard to
for a
do
year.
comedy with a broken neck, Derek. Very hard to do comedy with a broken neck.
I have two. I broke my neck twice, and I'm sitting here doing it.
Yeah, well, you're a wrestler.
The second time I sneezed and broke my neck.
Well, you're a sneezer.
Lying in bed on a Saturday night, I sneezed and broke my neck.
It's because you broke it the first time, and now
Exactly.
it's just trying to break itself off.
Yeah, it was the
No,
those
I,
mechanics.
except for this year, because I have to go there to set things up. I'll probably spend a lot of the winter touring in warm places. I think, my January, February will be like my Australia, New Zealand dates. Next year, I mean, not next year, the one after when, their borders are open again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll probably spend late February and March in Florida and Arizona to go to watch baseball anyway, which I do every year anyway. So, just avoid some of the worst parts of the winter, and then, hang out during the spring and summer when it's gorgeous.
Oh, that's the best time up here. Spring.
Yeah.
Spring and fall.
Yeah.
It still gets really humid up here, because of all the mountains and stuff like that. But spring and fall are just absolutely beautiful. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I absolutely love is that first time I see a leaf change color, it's just like, oh, here we go. Yeah, so that's something that I missed moving here from Florida. After spending 25 years in Florida, moving here, that's one thing I missed because I'm originally from Ohio. So
Yeah, well, I grew up in New York, and I'm very used to the cold, and I'm not excited about it, but I think it's worth it. It's gonna be a hell of an adventure, and I can't wait.
it will be, and I think that's it's very very admirable. And don't be surprised if you hear me knocking
I appreciate it. Come on by after COVID.
after COVID. But
Yeah.
again, Steve, I truly appreciate you hanging out with me tonight, man. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I cannot wait to go be able to see you, perform live again. I've seen you quite a few times, and I can't wait to do it again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to see any of the digital shows, you get tickets at Nowhere Comedy, which is nowheretime.com. You can also check it out at stevehofstetter.com. I do live shows. I do live stand-up shows at least once a week, and I do live streams 4 days a week. And come on, check it out.
Absolutely. Again, Steve, thank you very, very much, and I wish you nothing but the best in the new year, and have a happy Hanukkah to you and everything else in between.
Thank you much, Derek. Same to you.
You're welcome. Have a good one now.
Take care.
All right, guys, and that is our Wednesday. Sorry about the little bit of a glitch there with the power outage. That kind of sucked. But I will piece this together and fix it on YouTube tomorrow and put it up on the podcast the proper way, which I won't be able to do tonight, but oh well. But again, now even OBS wants to frickin', glitch on me after the power outage. But hey, at least I got the show to be done, and it is what it is. But thanks for hanging out. For those of you who are going to be listening to the podcast, you'll never know anything's different. You'll just be hearing about going, what happened now? They had a power outage? But that's, yeah. So I'm still taken back by having the opportunity to talk to that man. I'm still just in awe of him. So yeah. Come back tomorrow for the Keystones. A fantastic band. Cannot wait to talk to them. And then Friday, Chainflower. And also today, I got an email from a potential guest that will blow you away when I confirm it. Hopefully I'll confirm it tomorrow and I will announce it, but like on the same level as Steve. So, but music-wise, put it that way. I'm not going to say anything yet. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited that I had the opportunity to talk to Steve tonight. I wish I didn't have a power outage in the middle of it, but, shit happens. But again, come back tomorrow, same time, same place, for the Keystones, and then Friday, Chain Flower. So until then, everybody, please do me a favor. Stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay fucking heavy. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.